Red, 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 red.
Well, the boys around here don't listen to the Beatles run. Old Bo Cephas threw a jukebox needle at the honky-tonk where they boot stomp all night. What? That's right. Yeah, and what they call work a digging in the dirt. Gotta get it in the ground before the rain come down to get paid, to get your girl and your four-wheel drive. Yeah, the boys around here drinking that ice-cold beer, talking about girls, talking about trucks, running them red dirt roads out, kicking up dust. The boys around here sending up a prayer to the man upstairs. Backwoods legit, don't take no lip. Shoot a back, shoot a back, shoot a back, a spit. Oh, heck. Well, the boys around here, they're keeping it country. Ain't a damn one know how to do the Dougie. No, I'm not in Kentucky, but these girls around here, yep, they still love me. Yeah, the girls around here, they all deserve a whistle. Shaking that sugar sweet as Dixie Crystal. They like that yawling southern drawl and just can't help it 'cause they just keep falling for the boys around here. Drinking that ice cold beer, talking about girls, talking about trucks, running them red dirt roads out, kicking up dust. The boys around here sending up a prayer to the man upstairs. Backwoods legit, don't take no lip. Shoot her back, shoot her back, shoot her back, spit.
Let's ride through the countryside. Let's ride down to the riverside.
Hey now, girl, hop inside. Me and you gonna take a little ride to the river. Let's ride. That's right. Lay a blanket on the ground. Kissing in the crickets is the only sound. We out of town.
Let's ride.
Have you ever got down with a do you wanna get down with a girl, you gotta get down with the boys round here, drinking that ice cold beer, talking about girls, talking about trucks, running them red dirt roads out, kicking up dust. The boys round here, sending up a prayer to the man upstairs. Backwoods legit, don't take no lip. Shoot her back, shoot her back, shoot her back. I'm one of them boys round here, drinking that ice cold beer, talking about girls, talking about trucks, running them red dirt roads out, kicking up dust. The boys round here, sending up a prayer to the man upstairs. Backwoods legit, don't take no lip. Shoot her back, shoot her back, shoot her back, spit.
Welcome to the WINGIT call, June 6th, 2016. Today's important for a lot of reasons, because today is the wife's birthday. And then why I did it, I don't know, but then we got married the following day. So I get double whammy back to back. What was I thinking? Anyway, Pastor won't be here today. He's not feeling well. The recording has started. So let's all take a knee and let the rednecks see if we can't help us through this. Lord, hear our prayers today. Give us guidance. Give us an understanding heart to listen, ears to hear, to look, to think outside of the box, and to pray this thing in so that it won't be much longer, but we understand that it's in your hands. We just wish you would hurry a little faster, that's all. In Jesus Christ's name, amen. Hold on just a second here. If I didn't say this, the recording is going. Oh, I understand. You feel no bueno. Let me get back over here. Okay. Today's a little bit different. It's, excuse me. It's all about you today, post-RV. This is what we're talking about. Okay. It's all about you today. We have Awaken 3D. He's waiting in the wings. We also have another caller that's going to start us off, not just yet, TCU, and it stands for Taking Care of Us. So if anybody had any questions about that, we'll be bringing that person here in just a minute. Not a whole lot going on out there, really kind of quiet. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring in the Artmeister. Artmeister, you're unmuted. Come on down.
Come on down. This is the Artmeister. Hello, everybody in Dinar Land. Beautiful day here in Tennessee. Hope it is where you're at, too. Hope you all had a great weekend. Like Jerry said, not a whole bunch going on out there. A little quiet. Of course, you always get every day it's going to happen, you know. That's just standard, I think. We did hear last night that, well, it was supposed to happen when the London markets opened this morning, which would have been 3 a.m. our time. As we see, that did not happen, and we're going to get the 800 numbers once again, and that did not happen. So, and then we heard maybe Pacific time, noontime, something would happen. Well, that's passed about a half hour ago. So we hear things every day. The big to-do, I guess, was whether or not Mr. Oakey did make a post, and yes, he did. Elmer confirmed it. I confirmed it. Talked to Oakey, and just reading Ray Wren's notes here. I couldn't get on his call. I didn't have a link, but he did say that he had heard some did happen over the weekend. Some were reported that they did some exchanges. This is mostly for military and retired military, and I understand those coming back from overseas to certain states and certain areas where they report in, I guess, is where this mainly was. Mr. Body was supposed to have made the announcement in Iraq yesterday about the RV. Ray also said supposedly the announcement was made in Iraq. Has not heard a report from all of his people yet, doesn't know if that had been confirmed yet. And so he was kind of, hearing some of the same things we were. And he says the expectations, bank sources said they would be seeing something today into tonight and Tuesday. Don't forget, today is the start of Ramadan, and in sundown July 5th, Ray says here, all banks do have the large dinams in Iraq at the present time. He does not see Ramadan interfering with the completion of the cards or the RV process. So everything is looking good, sounding really good. We know it's coming. We know it's going to be here. And everybody just stay positive, because we've not waited this long to hang it up now, that's for sure. And I'm sure Awaken 3D and Mr. TCU or whoever that is will give us some good information as well. And just be prepared, like they say, for after the fact as well, because we're going to really get busy when it does happen, that's for sure. So anyway, that's we'll kind of leave it at that and let everybody else here take over. And y'all have a great day and a great week, and hopefully this will be our week for sure. So we'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So, 3D, just say hello real quick, and then we're just want to let everybody know that you're here for now. You're unmuted.
Okay. You got me?
Yes, sir. Just say hello here, and then we're going to go to TCU. Just want to let everybody know you're here.
I'm here. I'm looking forward to it.
Alrighty. Here we go. We are going to TCU. Come on down.
Good afternoon, Mr. McGuire.
What little tidbit do you have to kick this whole thing? Words of wisdom, please.
Well, first of all, I want to say thanks for the invitation. And also, I kind of like that hearts to listen, ears to hear. And I really vote for the big guy to kind of get a move on it.
Yes. They say that money doesn't bring happiness. I just want an opportunity to do some research and prove it right or wrong.
I believe that too. Well, first of all, a little bit of a disclaimer from myself. I'm not an intel provider. I'm not anywhere near that. I am a currency holder who's been in this for a very long time, and as a matter of fact, back up into the PPs. So there's not a story I haven't heard. But I'd like to
hold on just a second. I forgot to do the disclaimer. My apologies.
I leave
Disclaimer. We are not attorneys, financial advisors, CPAs. This is not legal counsel nor legal advice in any way, shape, or form. For that, seek professionals that have the degrees. And for the rest of our disclaimer, please go to the wingitcall.com. That is the wingitcall.com. And there is a disclaimer tab. Click on that, and the rest of the disclaimer is there for your reading pleasure. TCU, go ahead.
Thanks, Jerry. So if it's okay with you, I'd like to make my statement and then acquiesce to your other guest, Awaken 3D, and of course yourself. But again, I'm just a lady that has been in this for a very long time. I've done a lot of reading, listened to a lot of calls, listened to a lot of people, have a lot of mutual connections for currency holders. And again, I'm not an intel provider. This is just my thoughts of me as a person. I would like to bring mention to what Iko Ward did on your call last Friday, in that he opened a discussion of rates and the ultimate outcome of our exchanges from a high to a low, or maybe it was a low to high, and to something that could at least give us a break and allow for us to come to a place, to terms with a sense of peace on these variations. And he presented it all within reason. In his reflection, he said he had reconfigured his spreadsheets just for his own peace of mind, notwithstanding all of the mega rates that we've heard for quite some time. And without a doubt, we're all thrilled about these prospects. However, he did something marvelous for all of us in disclosing that exercise, because he opened the topic to the personal side of all of this. And I'm speaking for myself, but I feel also probably for a lot of people. All of us who have a daily life where we are trying to living, run a home, we have children to feed, grandbabies to care for, we have laundry to do, cars to fix, and a cornucopia of things that occupy our daily energies. We may only see some of these guys and gals as intel providers, but in reality, they are real people and something of a life, if they're lucky. And as a provider, their daily lives are riddled with information overload. And I think the toughest job you guys have is to filter and vet and decide if what, if any, in good conscience can you bring to us on your boards and your calls. And for that, I'm deeply appreciative. And I also recognize that you're all tied up in an array of numbers and structures and mechanics and military political issues. Those topics are endless. And I make mention of that because I have to also admit that while those topics are relevant to our exchange process as a collective force and ultimately involving us into a personal experience that we all like to call the RV, but in truth, they're not critical to our everyday lives. So I guess I'd like your audience to understand that for me, you guys are not robots. You're real people with real families, real living issues, and that you're very much like us. What is critically and directly proportional to us, though, as currency holders, is how we can use your information within the context of our personal life right here, right now. And the bottom line of what Aiko shared was that it had brought him an inner comfort to know that regardless of the rate, he had enough to do what he wants to do in order to take care of himself and his family. And in consideration of those possibilities of those rates coming out higher, then he knew there would be more to work with, hence more community projects on a broader scope. So we have an ability to explore what we know from our history in this journey as we are living our lives right now today, wondering how we're going to pay the bills. And then we jump forward to what life would be like with a Lamborghini experience. And that doesn't fit for everyone. So in other words, it is relative to what mandates are within our own personal lives. And these mandates are ultimately going to dictate how widespread this is going to allow us to navigate the interiors of our lifestyles. What's going on in your life is not what's going on in mine. But it's all relative. The challenges you face are not those of mine. Everything is completely relegated to our own personal experiences. But the things we do have in common are this. We all want the RV, the 800 number. We all want to move forward into the next phase of whatever this is going to mean for us. We all have things we want to get about the business of initiating in ways that are only going to be served with resources to accomplish. And this would be all of our personal satisfactions in life as well as any community projects that we might want to take on. But for today, for this being about us, I think it's essential to get a grasp on the concept of balance that we call our life. Our exchanges are going to alter this dramatically. And from what I read and hear and listen to, this balance is off kilter. Teetering on one extreme to the other, we still have a life to manage, and none of that teetering is actually being of service to anything we want. Probably the greatest service we can do for ourselves now will be to get very clear about what we want. And in getting clear, we need to be laser sharp with our intentions. And those intentions are what's going to bring everything into clarity for us as individuals. So we are going to be moving from hand to mouth to a handheld and spoon-fed situation. That's just a metaphor. We're going to have a lot of company and a lot of options post-RB. But for today, let's place our focus right here, right now, with some practical, pragmatic issues that we call life within ourselves. And here's the question I have had to ask myself. How much and how fast can I take on anything with grace and excellence? How much love, appreciation, attention, respect, or money can I manage at any given time? And what can I do with excellence that will complement my own true nature? Now, I know that I'm going to have financial advisors and a major support team, but I'm really talking about myself here. I'm not talking about financial advisors who've had years of practice and years of experience in dealing with a varied, wide-range group of clients. I'm dealing with me as an individual. And this has nothing to do with going against issues of abundance or prosperity, but it is about my personal ability that is aligned with my talents to engage my common sense and be of service to that abundance and prosperity rather than controlling my life. And anyone who believes that money cannot control their life now would be a very good time to reassess that judgment, because money is all about options, and it's all about the skills that we personally harbor that will allow us to exercise those options. It's just a tool, very much like a hammer, and how we use that tool is going to determine the projects we select. You're not going to use a hammer to chop down a tree. Well, a redneck might, but I'm not going to. A welder is not going to. You're not going to hire a welder to build yourself a rock wall. So money is a tool by which you can be selective in what you want to accomplish with excellence. So just imagine this for a second. You've gone grocery shopping, your car's loaded, you're 2 flights away from your front door, and you're feeling really energetic, so you grab 6 bags in each hand and you head up the steps. Some of those bags give way and your food rolls down the steps, smashing eggs, milk, and everything. Worst of all, breaks the cookies. Now you have a mess to clean up, and it's a redo to the shopping cart. But stepping back, what if you only took what you could handle at the moment and carried them successfully to a place of security and secured it? What if you viewed money in your life as much as the same manner? So I asked myself, what if within this concept I looked into my community projects in much the same way? So I would take one project, perfect it, move onwards onto others if needed, or even if I wanted. So I believe that exercise that Aiko provided gave him a sense of well-timed peace. And it occurred to me that that is precisely what I've been looking for. How do I come to peace with the terms of these rates? Because to know for him, what I think he discovered was that he could move forward no matter what and still do very well with whatever he got. That was a critical point of thinking for me in that moment, that I needed to back up and really look at what's going on right now in my life, not what is going to be. So let's step away for just a moment from these very large and wonderful concepts that we've all come to understand regarding our projects and their partner rates. And let's turn ourselves, just for this day, to a place within ourselves that holds the greatest amount of love. And if those are truly in place, if those places that we come from are truly in place, then anything we do within our communities are going to mirror this in tenfold efforts. We cannot possibly be disappointed in any community project we undertake if we are solidly understanding our own personal interior lives, particularly if we are cognizant of our skills. And I really mean take an inventory of skills and talents and ability to communicate. Our energy levels, that is varied for everyone. The type of support team that we surround ourselves with is going to be varied. Those are just some factors, but let's just think on those for a moment. And taking a walk into our own lives, looking at today, what of the sheltering of ourselves, the feeding of our children, clothing of our life? What would that look like to take a return into our own life and not have this be something that ignites a sense of self-centeredness or selfishness? To be selfish is actually a real self-love is a baseline for true acts of selfishness, in that if I'm not taking care of myself very well, the hope that I can take care of others diminishes exponentially. And this was brought to my attention from the Gospel of Matthew, 22:35. The Pharisees were trying to trip Jesus up. Tough job, but still they tried. And here's how that went. One of them, which was a lawyer, asked him a question, tempting him and saying, Master, which is the great commandment of the law? Jesus responded to him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these two commandments hang all the law of the prophets. So, hasn't Christ said to us, if you do this unto the least of your brethren, you do the same unto me? So now think of those things like sheltering the homeless, feeding the hungry, clothing those in rags. These are all projects we've all talked about. As I mentioned already, Iko took a step back and he took the personal time to really reevaluate exactly how much is enough. Then he recalculated all of his numbers and he realized that even with his lower ranges, he had enough. At the end of the day, when our exchange is a reality with that exchange officer and we're eye to eye, we're all going to learn the vitality and the truth of these rates. With the higher ranges, we can widen our community project involvement. And I really believe that's the message Iko was attempting to deliver. At least that is how I took it. However, if I don't know how to take care of myself, going back to my thought before Matthew, if I don't know how to take care of myself, or if I don't know what it's going to take for me on a personal level, then I've automatically done myself a disservice to not just myself, but my family. So I still have to ask how much will be enough for me to live comfortably, having all my financial issues completed and attended to. And for me, that's things like long-term care, medical, and still having adequate to remain for fun stuff, maybe a vacation or doing something special. So here's the kick. Would the lifestyle of the rich and famous actually make me happy? Or would making sure that I never had to worry about another financial issue again do the job? That's a rudimentary principle. Do I have enough in me for what it would take to even live in a world that, quite frankly, doesn't interest me because of the flash and flare? But if I had that kind of money, is that going to put me in that world, a world in which I will be uncomfortable? Remember what I said earlier, clarity of what I actually want is my guiding principle here, and in sincerely asking myself how much is enough. So this question is a foundation question of this whole journey, because in actuality nothing else exists, because it all comes down to who and what we are, what we will ultimately do with what we've got. And we cannot compare ourselves to another, because within all comparison lies all pain. I've been eliminated from text messages, emails, and a couple of rooms because I questioned this. And I was told, well, if you can't hold the vibration in trillions, then you don't belong with me. Well, okay, maybe that is true and maybe it's not. I would still like to be able to call somebody my trillionaire friend, but their lifestyle, I would still respect and honor that, but that might not be for me. So here's a way to draw this together. In the world of philosophy, there's a concept called excess virtue, and I have to especially thank a dear friend for bringing that to my attention. What it means is if you see someone in a pond drowning, and if you only have enough strength to swim out to that person, but not enough to bring them back, then we both drowned. Because strength comes from possessing excess virtue. So how does excess virtue apply in our lives with regards to our life post-RV? For me, it means that our first focus is in securing our own worlds in its entirety before we can branch out to secure the worlds around us. This is why I like your title, It's All About Us, because it brings it right home to us as individuals. We know there's a lot of conflicting info out there, and it creates confusion. Then that stimulates our senses into doubts and fears and concerns and cynicisms and an endless array of conflicts. But we are taken to task to try and prove what we are hearing, when the reality is the only thing we can really prove is that we still have to do the laundry and mow the lawn. That is what we can verify. On this call today, I'm looking at it as an opportunity to focus on our own centers rather than the global complications of the GCR and RRV. This possibility comes alive with the intentions of really wanting to encourage every individual to move away from the unknown outer possibilities of this event and really start looking and working within the circle of our own personal influence before we encounter the pressures to move outside into a more global arena. If we don't know what's going on inside of us or how to take care of us, we're going to be lost on the other side. That means that we allow ourselves to be brave enough to shut the doors on what will the banks do? When will they do it? What's a skeleton trust? What rate will I get? And a never-ending collection of mind chatter that keeps us spinning out of control. At the end of the day, does that really matter? No, it does not. I don't, for me, and again, this is just for me, it's my own personal assessment, but it matters not. What matters is, do I have the tools to do a varied and multiplicity of things that are either going to trip me up or enhance my life? Also, I think that your call today is about our heart and home and our communities and with possibilities of greater service to others that matches the hopes and dreams of our intentions. In the meantime, we're all struggling every day with issues that are contained within our personal lifestyle, and we're trying to blend that into a life we know that is just around the corner. Right now, our community is littered with individuals who are struggling from hand to mouth to stay afloat. I know people that are living in their cars. With this in mind, the anticipations that we live with daily, we are always asking, where's the 800 number? But that doesn't get us anywhere. It still moves us away from attending to the very basic needs in our life. So what if I had a whole lot of money and you and I could sit down and talk about your life and the elements that it would take to ensure your total comfort? What would you ask me in order to make you comfortable? I'm not speaking of settling. Rather, I'm speaking of actual reality, and that reality that nourishes and sustains you in a manner that polishes out your wildest dreams. What would you ask me for? And for me, I needed to address it in this manner. Right now in my life, what I have control over, what I can see, what I can verify, is what it takes for me to live on a monthly basis. My rent, my utilities, gas, essentials. And I'm not like a lot of others. There's not a lot left over. But again, what is the reality of each individual person? And remember that it is relative. I feel fairly comfortable in saying that the lion's share of people in this community are living bare bones and not much meat on those bones. So my point is this. What does it take right now to just take care of me? This is my jumping off point. And it is reality because it's something I can understand. It is a tangible, measurable resource available to me right now. But I want to change my reality for a much higher level, and I absolutely know that I will do that. So what would that be? To maybe buy what I want, the home I want, and then I have to look at what are the expenses going to be on that nicer home, that upscale. What about my family? What about upscaling my family? So right now, life for many is simply a matter of getting by, but for some, getting by on thin air. The next question we ask is, what would it take to take care of me and my family and provide that in a manner that I went from ground zero to midpoint? Think of it like this. There's myself and my family, and I'm just going to pull a number out of thin air here. At the end of the day, I'm going to say I need $500,000 a month to take care of me and everybody. That's everybody's home. That's expenses on everybody's health care, insurances, food, cars, everything. And from there, that means that nobody has debts about anything. No one has worries about do they pay the light bill or buy food. So we've elevated from one level to the other. We have to pick a starting point, something that is realistic to work with. For some, it'll be a whole lot more, but for this point, it's about getting clear on what we need to make an exceptionally comfortable life. At the other end of that spectrum, I would add my community projects in a what if I could do those things. I'm going to include those numbers in a completely separate portfolio because right now they're not in my reality. After I turn the corner with the funds, they will be or they won't be, depending on my experience with my exchange officer. So we are moving from one place to the other, and we're trying to do it without tricking our minds. And we're trying to do it without setting up a reality that is in conflict. Let me give you an example of that. I would have to, if I said I have $1 million right now, just that affirmation, my mind immediately replies, oh, sure, you betcha. And you can't even pay your light bill. So rather than saying that, I would say I am in the process of having $1 million, and I'm completely excited about that process. That's a truth. That is something my mind can grab and run with. And that means that I'm involved rather than sitting on the outsides of hoping for $1 million. I can put myself into the process. So again, we can't trick our minds when we're sitting in a reality that is in conflict. So our mind clearly understands and accepts the process. To conclude this in my little summary, I would like to remind you of the proverb that states charity begins at home. You said today's call is all about you, all about us. The whole point is to move away from distractions and the noise and to move towards our purpose. That proverb states charity begins at home could not be more true and appropriate at this moment in time. And our first responsibility must be to ensure and support that our worlds at home, to include self and family, are battened down. Once that foundation is secure, our next opportunity is to bring this blessing to our communities, even if it's one project at a time, finely tweaked, well-founded, and funded for secure success rather than dropping those bags down the steps and having to start over. And as our courage and financial understanding and knowledge can grow, then might we consider expanding our service and support opportunities on a more regional or national or global stage? Wouldn't our successes personally and in our communities add to the fact that our abilities to perform them on a wider stage as our future unfolds, wouldn't that be a definition of success? I think I really need to learn to crawl before I walk and to walk before I run. And getting out of that sequence will not only be a disaster for me, but it will destroy the real possibilities of being a blessing to those outside the centers of my influence. And if I don't get to do anything at all with these funds, I most assuredly want to influence those within inside my sociogram. Most of us have never had $10,000 in our checking account before. That's going to happen to us when our accounts have millions of dollars in them the day after we revalue, will be that we're stunned. I'm kind of looking forward to being stunned, but I still have to be practical and pragmatic about it. The overreaching point here is to lead from excess strength, to minimize our mistakes that we learn to manage the sums of this blessing. And I appreciate everything that you're doing to bring this event home, and that's what we have to do first. We have no choice but to let it come to us. And when it does, I hope that it heals ourselves and our families first. And then I hope that that extends that blessing outwards from that foundation to include many, many others. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Thank you. Great call. I guess we'll see everybody Friday.
Exactly. Yikes. Where do we go from there?
Well, I want to. TCU does a wonderful job, and I like to break it down into redneckese. And it will do a displeasure to her statement, but it's like this. If we're having difficulty handling the finances that we have now, hand to mouth, and everybody's situation's different, we all struggle, but it's how we approach that struggle that's going to set us apart from everybody else when we go from hand to mouth to, not even month to month, year to year with no issues. I know that's a very short summation to what she was talking about, but you need to go back and listen to everything she had to say and take some notes. It's awesome. 3D, what little tidbit can you share with us in short bursts, please?
Short bursts. Yeah, that's uncharacteristic for me, I know, but I'll do it. The reason I resonated with this topic, and I had posted on the site I'm affiliated with at Gladiators, I said this is going to be a different call, and because it's a subject, like many of us, I'm sure yourself too, Jerry, is I'm barraged with calls and private messages and emails, and even on the calls that I do with and I get off the call and there's an overreaching sense of there's a lot of anxiety out there. There's a lot of concern. There's a lot of confusion. And I began to see in my mind that many of us, myself included for quite a while, we get ourselves mentally up to this point where we're walking into the exchange. And then we really haven't gone, then there's this wall and it's like, okay, I'm in the exchange, but how do I know when to get out of the exchange, right? If I'm presented with these scenarios, what am I going to do? And I'm really concerned about this. And, this is people saying this to me, and I don't know where to go. And then that backs into, what if they give me a structured payout? What does that mean? And what if this happens, and what if that happens? And I've heard this, and I've heard that, and I've heard this. And at some point, this topic of today resonates deeply with me because I've gone through the exact process that she just explained in my own personal life, where, I've sat down and I even generated spreadsheets and all these types of things. But it was a personal evaluation saying, all right, where am I now, and where am I going to be? And I have this number. I call it the magic number. And I know I can make my entire life work around that number, live comfortably, happily, extend that out to the community and that type of thing. But exactly what I went through, as she described, I start with myself and my family, and then those around me. And then I push out as I'm enabled to, based on what I'm going to receive when these exchanges are all finished. And instead of coming in from it from another angle where it's like, wow, I can get this huge amount, but I really, don't, how am I going to, I start thinking, I don't want to leave any on the table. I don't want to take a quote unquote sucker rate and all of these things. And I found myself in the very same confusing kind of anxious time going, I really don't know where this is heading, but I better bloody figure it out. And because I wanted to have that point where I'm in the exchange and there are offers on the table, scenarios, whatever they are, and I look and I do a quick calculation and I go, there's my magic number right there. So at this point, I'm confident, I am secure, I have no anxiety, and I'm like, what's on the table right now gets me to where I know I can be content, fulfilled, and do things for the rest of my life without having to have any of the worries that I have in my personal life right now. And so, and once I have that point in my mind, that trigger point, the jump-off point, I like that. Then everything that happens after that is not really of a anxious concern for me at all. It's like whatever, I've just established my base. I know I'm there. Let me continue to ask a few questions. This is not about saying, hey man, just take what you're offered and be happy with it. It's not about not asking questions and figuring out what the offers or potential scenarios are. But there is a point in our minds and in our hearts when we say, okay, I've come into this. It's sitting across the table, and I'm there. I just saw the scenario that gets me where my magic number is. So now let me see where we go from here. But I'm already, there's no more anxiousness or anything like that because I'm already there, and let's see where it goes from here. And I know at that point that when I say, okay, it's done. See, a lot of us have not gone to that point where we're actually looking at the person across the table from us in our exchange, and we're now at a point where we can say, let's shake hands. Here's my currency. Let's do this. I'm done. And then when that happens and the signatures are completed and the details are explained, I'm going to walk out of that exchange the happiest, most content, and looking forward to the future. I've crossed that bridge, and I don't need to look back. And guess what? I don't care what the person in the exchange got before me, and I don't care what the person in the exchange is going to get that comes into the room after me, because I knew where, for me as an individual and a person, I got what I want, what I need, and there's no reason at all to be concerned about, this, that, and the other thing and how that, and then I'll move on at that point. And that's really what I think I came on here to support this message, is because I think the awareness of the listeners here and that type of thing, we need to put ourselves in a mental state where we see ourselves shaking hands and walking out of that exchange process and being, just ecstatic and thrilled. And the last thing we would ever want to have, because it's actually destructive to the whole point of this process for us as participants in the GCR, the RV, whatever you want to call it, has been completed. We've done where we are, and I certainly don't want to walk out of there with any thoughts in my mind, crossing my mind, saying, well, I wonder what that guy got, or I wonder if I got the highest rate, or I wonder if this, and that leads to, I don't know, I guess I would call it envy or whatever, but, that guy's got more than me. I mean, do I care? No, I don't. And because I had my plan, it was achieved. I got what I came in there to get, and I'm very happy with what I did, and let's move on, and I won't look back. And I think that's, if there's any takeaway from the subject of this call, it's all about us and how to assuage the feelings of anxiety and concern and confusion, and who to believe and whose side you're on and why and what. And those are details. Those are interesting points. Those are talking points. But it's just information. But when we are sitting at that exchange table, there are no gurus around. There are no support systems out there in dinar land that you can text or email and wait for a response. It's going to be you as an individual making the largest financial decision. and a transaction of your life, mostly, right? So if we put that in perspective, I think my only goal is to continue the message of, we got this, let's stay confident. Let's not, yesterday I was confident, but today there's a piece of information in Dinar land that completely threw my whole world into turmoil, because now there's this piece of information, but yesterday I thought I understood this and it was good. These are just pieces of information, but going back, if I've got my plan and I'm ready for it, it doesn't matter what those pieces of information are, because I know I'm going to walk into that exchange knowing what I want, knowing what I need, and when that magic number is there, everything else is just the cherry on top or gravy and that type of thing. And I will not walk out of that exchange feeling jilted, feeling mistrustful, going through self-doubt that did I get the highest rate, or should I have said this, or should I have negotiated that? I mean, that's really counterproductive to this whole experience in this once in a lifetime opportunity. And so that's really just what I wanted to help reinforce here, because, I do get a lot of calls and interaction with people in Dinar land, and this is really the overarching theme of these conversations and talks. And I just want to help people get through that, and the best way to do that is through this personal evaluation and knowing what you need to know, and go in there and be confident and walk out going, I did it. It's done. Now I've turned the corner, and let's go from here and get your professionals and structure things and all of that. So I think that's the best summary. That is probably a little long, but I think it's good for me. All right. So.
Well, thank you, sir. The call is only going to be an hour long, and people have asked me why I don't do a longer call, and for one simple reason. There is so much information packed in all of our calls, my call, that in an hour you can go back and listen to it many times and pick up a lot of things that you've missed. So here in a little bit, we're going to call it a day. But before we do that, Wingman, you've been very quiet and very patient. Please bring us some wisdom.
Yeah, I've been kind of awestruck listening. This stuff couldn't have been said any better. And you're right. There's so much packed into just this call. I'm going to go back and listen to it again, because I know I missed a few things, because I would get set off on a train of thought and then not hear what was being said. It's a real honor to have been a catalyst for that thing I mentioned at the end of last week's call. If you do something expecting to get applause or expecting to get something back, you never do. In fact, sometimes it backfires on you. But if you do something without any expectation, which I did when I mentioned what I did with my base rates and all that, and what I shared.
Did you have on your asbestos underwear when you did that?
Yeah, exactly. It was like I just said that. I just said what I was thinking from the heart. Very simple, message and all that, and then it turns into what we all heard today, and it's like I'm in awe of that grace. And it is, if I had anything to add to today, it's that we all need to stay in association with one another. Probably a lot of people out there don't realize what they've exposed themselves to and what they've been taking in over the past few years. There's a lot of subliminal and subtle information that we have been exposed to. And we've been exposed to a lot of big, bad information and a lot of great information, and it's all there in our heads. We don't forget any of this, but we haven't had time to clear it. We haven't had time to digest it. So having association with people who have gone through the same thing is going to be very important. You can coach one another. You can console one another. You can team up on stuff. Somebody finds a good financial coach who understands everything behind the GCR. That's going to be a tough person to find in the beginning. There aren't going to be that many out there. It's going to take time for the financial advising community to catch up with us. Just things like that. I mean, there's a lot running through my head. But just in general, thanks to everybody, and you too, Jerry, for this call. There's an old Spanish proverb. It says, it loosely translates into so much brains, dumb for life. And I feel that about some of the other groups, that they think they have all the answers and theirs is the only answer, and it's not. And here on the Wing It call, we truly get to wing it, but look at what comes out of it. So, I was kind of depressed and frustrated this morning, but I'm good and happy right now. And that's about it.
Well, good. Got the squat there, and I'm going to finish up the call with probably some untrees for the rest of Dinar land, but ask me if I give a crap. That's why I wear asbestos underwear and a Kevlar suit with extra padding. So here goes. The rest of Dinar land should at least, and I won't say follow my lead, but you need to address the people that follow you. You're doing a disservice to them by not talking about things like this post-RV. You're not preparing the people that listen to you. Shame on you. It was shame on me until I pulled my head out of my butt because I was caught up in the intel part, and it's like, wait a minute. Joseph does have a point. We need to concentrate on post-RV. Then I saw the light. And so please start preparing your people for post-RV as quick as possible. Time is running out. Of course, we've been saying that for a while too, but we have, as intel providers, people that host a call, we have a responsibility, if we're hosting calls like this, to do the best that we can do and stop throwing darts at everybody and saying my intel is secret and don't share it and I want to sell this, and then we'll talk about things like that afterwards. Dispense with all that. Open everything up and talk about what needs to be talked about. What are you going to do post-RV? Let's get down to not the macro, but the micro part of it. Just kind of like a housewife. She's pinching pennies and really right down to the nitty-gritty because this is what everybody needs. If like I said earlier, if you're struggling with a budget now, and yes, I understand that some people's budget every month don't go all the way because we've been enslaved. And I'm not going to get off on a tangent here with low wages and things like that. What are you going to do when you have $1 million? Take it slow. Just like TCU said, take it slow, take it easy. What was the next one? Fleeting thoughts when I'm talking. Darn it. Concentrate. Focus. Here we go. You have what you have right now, no more, no less, because this is where God wants you. So I'm applying this when you go in for your exchange. Be happy with what you get. Don't go in there with your head down. Oh, sir, may I please have? Be confident, because we are in the driver's seat to a point, but be respectful. They're expecting us to act like upstanding rednecks and yuppies and businessmen and housewives and house dads and all those. If we give respect, we're going to get respect. Don't be going in there, and I'm going to say this again, holding your arms up in the air, hollering, Jerry Maguire says, show me the money. Please don't do that. I'm begging you. They'll start looking for me, and the next thing I know, I'm going to be, yeah, we're going to show you the money, all right. So you're going to get what you get. That's why there's some people are billionaires and some people are millionaires, because everybody can't handle the same rate. Some people can handle 100,000 and some people can only handle 20,000. I hope you understand the correlation there. So we just be respectful, say, this is what I'm requesting, here's what I'm going to do if they ask, and don't worry about the person next to you, either beside, before you, even after you. You're only worried about yourself, kind of like the good Lord. Who was he talking to when he was walking Peter? Peter was asking, well, what about, Joe behind me here? He goes, not to worry. You can't control that. You can only control what you're doing. So that being said, I think let's wrap this up. Call it a day. Take a knee. Lord, thank you for guiding my lips and everybody else's lips who brought information on the call. We hope that people out there with an understanding heart understood, people with ears that could listen understood, and that as you bring this blessing down, that you give us the guidance and wisdom with whatever amount you have brought to us to take care of our brothers and sisters and the projects, just to give us guidance in that. And we ask this in Jesus Christ's name. Amen. So, I think that's it for the day. Want to thank everybody that came on the call. Oh, one last thing. Vetting. If you're vetting someone, I'm using myself. If you're listening to me and I'm talking and there's some things that aren't right, talk to a friend that you entrust. Vet the people. Are they talking a bunch of crap out their butt? If they are, why are they doing that? What's different versus what they're saying versus somebody else? Is there an agenda? And first and foremost, I expect you to vet me extra well, because I'm bringing this up with everybody else in Denarland that has a call that's an intel provider. We only can bring you what we know, and there's a lot of stuff that I don't bring on the call because I call BS before I ever bring it. That's why I'm not bringing a lot of stuff anymore, because it's just so hard to say, yes, this is true. Now, about the people exchanging, there's no doubt in my mind that this happened. Too many people talked about it. So, but vetting, I want you to vet. If you're listening to ICO or 3D or me or any of the other calls, ask yourself what's going on. Why are they saying this? Their actions speak louder than their words. What are they doing and why? That's all I'm saying. And I put myself first and foremost out there. I'm probably full of crap right up to my brown eyes. Oh, look, they are brown. Huh. I must be over the top with BS then. All righty. 3D, thank you. Ico, thank you. I think we're ending this call. So goodbye, everybody, and we will see you Friday.
The conference is now completed. Goodbye. Welcome to the conference. Please enter the conference ID, followed by the pound key. Thank you. Guest ID accepted.